And Argentina, the 1978 World Cup winners, with the great Diego Maradona, against a very, very fast-moving South Korean team, who will have to rely upon their speed and very, very fast counter-attacking breakaways to surprise this Argentinian side, one of the favorites for this competition, and number 10, the great Diego Armando Maradona, who is the Argentinian captain. We expect great things from Maradona. These conditions in Mexico City, this beautifully prepared pitch, should suit him, but the South Koreans certainly will be no pushover. They are well prepared, very fast indeed, undoubtedly underdogs against a side like Argentina, but they may surprise because they are very fast and very good on the counterattack. So we would expect to see the typical Latin style of Argentina, stroking the ball from man to man, building up slowly, and then using the great talents of Maradona to act as one of the major goal makers and goal scorers. So Argentina moving the ball about in the altitude of Mexico City, about 7,300 feet. I've been running in this area during the first week we were here, and it is very hard work to run. When you have to move and tackle and sprint and recover and control the ball as Diego Maradona is doing now, it is very difficult indeed. But there we see the sort of experiences Maradona had in Spain in 1982, which eventually led to his frustration and his sending off in that World Cup to make his debut of a very disappointing one. There we saw the methods that some teams will use to stop this superstar by going in hard and tackling hard and bringing him to the ground. And so it is a free kick for Argentina. The Korean wall, and now we will see whether the Argentinians can work their magic with this first set play of the game. Chipping it through, out wide on the right, but the Korean defense able to clear to safety this first threat posed by the Argentinians.
It's very interesting there that Diego Maradona passed that ball off. Everyone expects him to shoot. He has a hard shot, bending shot, much like the Brazilians, but I think they figured Korea might have been expecting it, and he changed it to a different set play. But the Koreans were ready for it.
Number 8, Nestor, to take the throw. Long throw well into the penalty area. Argentina going in, but the Korean defense well up to it. Number 14, Ricardo. But a breakaway now by these very, very fleet-footed Koreans. This is their threat. Chipping it into the center. Oh, and pulled down. Surely there. A kick. Yes, without question. Almost like rugby football as he was going through. Very, very well tackled if it had been the 15-a-side game.
Very fast break and a good through ball. And the Korean definitely had him beat. The Argentinian had to pull him back. I'll tell you what, that almost looked like a yellow card.
Very close to it indeed. I think the referee quite lenient. And Maradona trying to get some clarification there, but it is the first set play of the game to the South Koreans, and we saw a beautiful example there of their tremendous pace in counterattack. Now, whether they can keep this up at this altitude remains to be seen, but they're well-prepared athletes and very fast. And so the first set play just outside the box. This is a dangerous area. The Argentinian wall has been formed. Seems to be some uncertainty in the Korean organization for this set play, and they try to bend the ball around the wall and they don't succeed, but they still have possession. Number 2, Park, trying to make progress down the wing, and the physical superiority of the Argentinian defender there, pushing the ball out.
As in yesterday's game with Canada and France, I think that Argentina has to be very careful. They don't take the Koreans too lightly. As we've seen already with the one quick break they've had, they're a very well-prepared team.
Oscar moving it up to Sergio. Argentina, long ball. Maradona in possession again, showing his tremendous skill, and once again hacked down. The Argentinians appealing that this should be a yellow card. The referee telling the Korean defenders that they have to tackle fairly and go for the ball and not the man. And Argentina, of course, concerned about Maradona's knee. There are many who feel that he should have had an operation on this knee, which is somewhat suspect. He has decided, wisely or not, we shall see perhaps in a moment, to delay the operation because of his desire to play in this World Cup competition, and therefore the defenders certainly going in hard because they realize the great threat that Maradona poses. Here we see him coming through, and no attempt whatsoever to play that ball. That deserved a yellow card without question. We remind you that we are bringing you this game from the Olympic Stadium in Mexico City, Argentina versus South Korea, because there have been electrical problems in Irapuato and no pictures coming from that venue where the Soviet Union are playing Hungary. So we will do our best to bring you this backup game as we see the ministering to Maradona, and we see the reason for him having to have that treatment. No attempt whatsoever by the Korean defender to play that ball. The referee being very lenient at this point. This cannot surely go on if these superstars are to remain healthy throughout these competitions. They're so important to their teams, but of course they are marked men by the defenders. And the South Koreans not noted for their viciousness and their professional fouling, certainly, and one cannot condone this sort of behavior. Trying to bend it round the wall, not succeeding, but Argentina in possession. A big chance now for a shot, and it's there. Certainly capitalizing, number 11 for Argentina, Jorge, Alberto Valdano Jorge, puts Argentina ahead as a result of play which followed the set play following Maradona's foul. Here we see it again.
The Koreans had all overplayed the free kick by Maradona and were cut when he headed the ball back in. It was a tremendous shot through a lot of traffic, no chance for the goalie. But this is something that Korea did not want to happen so early in the game, not with the skillful Argentinians now being able to stroke the ball about with the pressure being off after scoring the first goal.
So Jorge Valdano puts them ahead, and now with this early goal, we are likely to see Argentinian confidence burgeoning and then beginning to play this ball about the park with a great deal of confidence and making these South Koreans do an awful lot of running. Maradona in possession, recovered from that foul. And a long probing ball, some beautiful running to space, but the goalkeeper out in anticipation ahead of Buragacha, who were chasing that ball. Now the South Koreans bringing it out. A long ball by South Korea for their pace, but well cleared by the Argentinian defense, and Guisti puts it safely back to the goalkeeper. Argentina bringing the ball out. Very confident, swinging it about, showing their great technical skills. Clausen. In support, building quietly. Batista to Buragacha. And switching this ball about with Maradona linking all the time, looking around, lots of time to play this. South Korea not challenging, and now nice move down the left flank. Can he move across and beat his marker? No, puts it back for support. Playing very heavily on Maradona's generalship. But the Koreans massing in defense, but still not able to clear that ball safely. Another threat from Argentina. Here comes the cross. Two Koreans there to one Argentinian, and heading it away safely, Kim of Korea.
I think we're seeing a different Diego Maradona than we saw in Spain in '82. He's matured a lot more, he's more of a leader, and he's able to handle that hard tackling a lot better.
There's Yu of Korea moving it up. Choi, with Argentina now in possession. Batista. Argentina, very, very slow, leisurely build-up in midfield. Garre moving it across there. Argentina, a give and go, and he gets a chance for another shot, but that will come off a Korean defender for a corner. And we have a message from Irapuato. In that game, Soviet Union versus Hungary, the score in the very early stages of that game, Soviet Union 2, Hungary 0. So the Soviets coming on very, very strongly in the opening minutes of that game and showing that they are a team to be reckoned with in this competition. There goes the punching out by the Korean goalkeeper Cho. But Argentina seizing upon the ball and beginning to roll it about with ease and confidence and switching play to try to stretch this Korean defense. Another threat down the wing, the cross immediately over, but the Korean defense able to handle that ball and kick it clear. Whispy looking for support, finding none and putting it back to the supporting midfield. Batista swinging it about. Maradona, ever the general, seeing a man free on the left side. Here comes the cross. Argentina beginning to exert their overwhelming power in this game, in this early stage, buoyed by that early goal by Valdana.
Jeff, I think they're giving Diego Maradona much too much room. He's being able to pick out people, and when you give a player with that much talent this much time, he'll tear you apart.
Maradona always on hand. Much more mature player 4 years later than he was in Spain, when eventually his frustration overcame him and he had the ignominious experience of being ordered off the field. Now 4 more years of experience under his belt, and certainly the linchpin of this Argentinian team. But a breakaway by Korea, a chance for them to use their pace down this left flank. Pushing back for support and receiving it, beating his man, well played. A good tackle there by Clausen. Going for the ball, not as we saw in an earlier foul on Maradona going for the man. But chance for Korea. Argentinian defenders massing in the goal mouth. Almiron, the goalkeeper, organizing his defense. Here he comes. Out chance for Korea. Spraying it out to the right side to spread this Argentinian defense. Oh, and a beautiful shot from outside the area, and that was not too far wide. And the Labatt TV series returns in a moment. And back in the Olympic Stadium in Mexico City with 11 minutes gone in this game, Argentina ahead of South Korea, 1-0 with a goal by Jorge Valdano, following a set play which resulted from a vicious foul on Maradona. And here again, the target of the enthusiastic and not always concentrated South Korean defense, concentrated in the sense that instead of going for the ball, they occasionally go for the leg. Loads of time to put this cross in. Argentinians in the area, but straight at the goalkeeper. This may be a very difficult and long day for the Korean goalkeeper Cho. Song moving it. Valdano, the goal scorer, but losing possession. And the challenge there against Young-se, and therefore a kick to South Korea. Long probing ball, but the Argentinian defense well able to handle that threat. Now Korea a chance to build up again. Playing the same sort of tactics as Argentina in the sense of trying to spread out this defense with some cross-field balls, but it's these forward balls that will bring the result. That one a little too strong and into touch. So it's the throw to Argentina. Porcini. Batista. center. Chaga moving it. Argentina very slow, very patient in their build-up. And good anticipation by the Korean defense, heading it well clear, but only to an Argentinian defender. Gare pushing it through. Long ball. Maradona having moved into space, but closely attended. But again, a nice through pass, but very good anticipation and marking by the South Korean defense. No pressure whatsoever for this Argentinian side. One goal up. The Koreans very reluctant to press them at all until they get into the defensive third. Argentina quite content to build up slowly and then release a man with a quick through pass like that. No foul that time. Maradona ran into the Argentinian defender. Into the Korean defender, sorry. The Korea start their build-up. Only two players forward at the moment for South Korea, with three Argentinian defenders marking them. So the odds are not in favor. Oh, and again, another, surely a yellow card this time, a clear-cut rugby tackle. That's the second occasion. The referee seems to be very content to pass this by with no more than a cautionary word. It cannot surely continue. This seems to me not to be the way to treat the great players in the game if they're going to be constantly brought down.
I don't think that Korea can afford to keep giving away these free kicks to the Argentina scored off the last one.
And they scored off the next one. And now, as you see, we have a change of picture because at last the technical difficulties have been overcome, and we are now in Irapuato, where the Soviet Union is leading Hungary 2-0. We leave Mexico's Olympic Stadium, where Argentina leaves South Korea 2-0 as a result of that last set play for a foul on Maradona. So now we're at Irapuato and delighted to hand over, or are we handing over to Stephen Graham? That doesn't seem to be clear, but certainly the game we are now watching is Irapuato, Soviet Union 2, Hungary 0, and Soviets now threatening once again. Oh, now the miracles of modern technology take us once again from Irapuato briefly to the Olympic Stadium in Mexico City. That was a master control punching up onto the CBC video, so we are back in Olympic Stadium and we see the third foul on Diego Maradona. Surely the referee cannot continue to tolerate this, and the Argentinians are trying to describe and discuss this with him.
Maradona again taking this all very, very well. He has matured a lot since 4 years in Spain, but the referee will have to start doing something about this. He must give out a yellow card. They can't just keep chopping Maradona down.
But they have rightly paid the penalty in other ways, in the sense that they are 2 goals down as a result of 2 fouls, which resulted in 2 set plays, the second of which resulted in a goal directly from the set play, and the first one which resulted in some loose play immediately after that set play to put Argentina 2 goals ahead. South Koreans in the Argentinian half, and a nice ball down the left flank. Hasn't got any support, so has to try to get that cross in with the Argentinians overwhelming him numerically, but it does result in the corner. Therefore, South Korea have a chance from this set play to try to come closer to the Argentinian threat. Kim of South Korea, 6'4". There he is. He gets up to that ball. It's unusual, perhaps. We don't anticipate Koreans to be tall people. But 6'4" is useful for a high ball in the area. Didn't work that time. Maradona trapping it on his chest and breaking away. Avoiding the tackles this time. But again, South Korea tackling well and getting the ball that time. Bok Tang-sung moving it out. Going to be a shot, and it's a good shot, but from long range, and the Argentinian goalkeeper Almiron well able to handle that. As we see Clausen, who seems to be in a bit of trouble there. I think that ball struck him en route. Probably knocked a little bit of wind out of his sails. And so Argentina content to literally walk this ball out, finding their men as Batista is in possession. South Korea offering absolutely no challenge at all as Argentina walk this ball out, and they'll be delighted to do that all day. Gives them time to show their great technique and skill, playing the ball one to another in a 10 or 15 meter area, playing right into their hands, and then the occasional probing ball, but this time Cho able to handle that.
Maradona is definitely the center of this Argentine team. He's been in almost all the moves, and he's playing very well. Already assisted on 2 goals, having a very fine day.
Cho Kwang-rae coming on as substitute now for South Korea, and 12 coming off Pyung-suk Kim, who was intended to mark Maradona, and obviously this has failed. Korea there almost with a chance, but muffing it, and it going safely wide for a goal kick. So now Alberto Pompido, the Argentinian goalkeeper, sending the ball well upfield, deep into the Korean half. Maradona again slipping it forward, running for the return, but being intercepted. Now Maradona a chance to take his man on. Korean defense coming back very quickly to stifle the threat. Woo Young-moo of South Korea able to stifle that threat, but the result is a corner, which Maradona himself will take. Argentina 2 goals ahead after 25 minutes as Maradona takes this corner. Doesn't find its target. Clausen moves it inside, and Argentina pushing it back to mark and mount their offense again.
Argentina is very comfortable in this game, and they're just strolling. I think their biggest fear they got to be careful of is not to become too complacent and allow the Koreans back in the game, because right now it's definitely a one-sided game.
Giusti Maradona out on the right, and there he is to receive that ball. Beats his man very, very easily. And another, but a little bit of acting there, I think, on that one. While undoubtedly he was fouled, it was not as vicious as the earlier tackling. Shakes his head in disbelief, wonders what he has to do to be allowed to play this game.
Well, Jeff, I still think he's getting more room in this game than he'll get in most of his other qualifying games, and so far the Koreans have paid very dearly for the free kicks.
This another one. And the South Korean goalkeeper, remembering the last 2 results of the set plays, both goals scored by Valdano. Good jumping by the South Korean defense, but a chance for a volley, and high and wide. And World Cup 86 on CBC Sports continues in a moment. Stadium in Mexico City. Argentina 2, Republic of South Korea 0. Shah. Nice support. Kim Yo-sung showing his pace down that left flank. Trying to get that cross in. Very little help from his teammates, but very good coverage by two determined Argentinian defenders. Here's Chang Sun Park to take this throw. An effort to try and turn, successful, getting the cross in, but not enough strength in numbers. Two South Koreans against one Argentinian defender there, and the defender one out, but his clearance possession to South Korea. Long safe pass back, and we learn from Irapuato that the Soviet Union have gone ahead 3-0, the third one on a penalty. So Soviet Union certainly impressing themselves in the group that Canada are in. Canada, France, Soviet Union and Hungary, and Soviet Union giving Hungary a rare lesson, 3-0 ahead in the first half. But here, back at Olympic Stadium, Mexico City, Argentina 2-0 ahead, both goals by Valdano, and having a relatively easy time of it with this South Korean 11.
It almost seems, Jeff, that South Korea is content to try and play like the Argentinians, and instead of we're hoping to see, and we've been told that they're very quick and fast breaking, but they haven't showed us that yet.
And Tapuli tackles from behind. Certain tendency on the part of the South American players to dramatize tackles, and therefore the referee has got to be very careful in his judgment. But certainly the earlier ones that we have seen would suggest that he has been exceptionally lenient thus far. So Maradona again. Two high-jumping South Korean defenders. But in fact, the Argentinian was pushing, and therefore it will be a kick to South Korea. Young-se trying a long ball forward. Dano running, trying to outpace the defense. Now a chance to take him on. Argentina pushing that ball back for the supporting back for Urachaga. Maradona looking for his forward, moving to space. Valdano, but the goalkeeper coming out and collects Young Kyo-oh. Ray muffing that shot completely. no major pressure with a comfortable 2-goal lead and able to play with a certain amount of relaxation, loads of time, and South Korea not offering them any threat at all as they try to move the ball out. Just this occasional threat of a fast break, which thus far the Argentinians have been well capable of handling. Maradona with lots of time and space, playing a gentle interpassing game as they move into the Korean half. Now the Korean defense masses. Argentina look for gaps.
The Argentine team here is just knocking the ball around at will, and Korea, of course, they've got the second half left to go, but they're going to have to start coming forward a little bit. At 2 goals down, they don't have a whole lot to lose.
It's away from that challenge. Took too much on when he should have been looking for his support.
The referee did very well there. Of course, Maradona, being the superstar that he is a lot of South Americans are very good actors and hoping to draw penalties when they get in that penalty box.
Certain amount of speculation with that long ball. There were 3 Argentinian defenders there. A 3-to-1 ratio is not a good bet. Kick to Argentina. South Korea seems to be despairing a little, leaving their 2 front runners in almost splendid isolation and completely overwhelmed numerically by this Argentinian defense. They've got to try to settle down and not put balls forward on pure speculation. That was a good ball to Maradona, but he was unable to do much with it. That's better play. They're looking and finding their men, trying to build up. That's better. Much more of a threat, and they've gained a corner from that. And the Labatt TV series returns in a moment.
Simon is one happy little boy. He still has his mom. His mother, Clémence Vigneault, was saved by the specialists of the Montreal Heart Institute. The hospital treats more than 20,000 patients annually. We must support research by giving generously to the Montreal Heart Institute on June 1st to the 15th. On behalf of all children like Simon,
thank you.
Please give from the heart.
Come to Swiss Chalet, you're gonna flip.
It's hot.
It's a plump quarter chicken.
It's hot great.
It's fresh cut fries and special tangy sauce.
It's how great you feel.
All of this for a limited time only for just $3.49.
It's how great you feel. It's how great you feel.
I told you.
At the end of the meal, Swiss Chalet, okay.
Back in the Olympic Stadium, Mexico City. Score still 2-0. Argentina content to play this game at a gentle pace and not take too much out of themselves. Pasculi was too far forward and the linesman's flag went up for offside. 10 minutes more of this first half to play with 2-goal lead for Argentina. Scores by Valdano in both cases. Koreans not offering any major threat. And Argentina content to play the game at this easy pace when it can become, in fact, a quite useful training session for them with a lot of competition left in this World Cup, as they are one of the favored teams. 6 teams only have won the World Cup, and one would believe that the winner this year will come from those 6 teams.
I think the big thing that Argentina has to do here is stay disciplined and stay and play the way which they are playing now, which is relatively easy for them, but not to get into that habit too much, because I'm sure they're going to have some tougher games down the road. There again, we shouldn't write the Koreans off. There's still a second half to go, and we know that they can be an exciting team.
Chance here for Park Chung-sung, but too many Argentinian defenders. Now a chance of a quick breakaway, but number 14, Justi, obstructed there, and so it's a kick for Argentina. He's still looking for help. No urgency at all in this Argentinian play. The great Daniel Passarella, of course, was unfit for this match. He has had some stomach problems and has lost some weight, and as a result he's not 100% fit, and the Argentinians therefore left him out of this match. And if there was one match where the great defender who loves to come forward, Daniel Passarella, could be missing, it's certainly this one. Gives him an extra few days to recover and gives the Argentinians a chance to try another defender into their lineup. Koreans seem to be somewhat overawed by the fact that they are already 2 goals down, and instead of playing like a team, we're seeing a series of individual efforts. And while occasionally individual efforts are absolutely critical and can mean the difference between winning and losing a game and breaking a game open, certainly against a side like this, and with the whole of the second half still to go, these individual efforts are unlikely to yield results. But from this kick, they may have a chance. Over the head of both defenders and attackers, and runs rather lamely into touch, and the Argentinians in absolutely no hurry at all to take this throw. The crowd getting a little restive about this.
As we have the wave starting in the stadium.
Crowd perhaps hoping that they can inspire a little more action into this game. More writhing and acting from Diego Maradona.
I think there may be a little bit of acting in that one. I think the tackle was a harsh one, but I don't think it was that harsh. One of the, I guess, problems of being a big superstar, as Maradona is, that he's going to get some very special attention, and a lot of it sometimes can be very harsh.
And this is where the referees have a very, very important responsibility to protect all players. And if they are being fouled, and these fouls are clear transgressions of the rules, then the referees have it in their power to do something about it. And so far, as we said before, this referee has been quite lenient. It may well be that with a comfortable 2-goal lead, the Argentinians will decide to rest Maradona in the second half to save him from further unnecessary punishment, because I'm sure they have enough talent in their replacement ranks to do this. Maradona well out on the right-hand touchline, possibly to take a rest and also to keep out of trouble a little bit. About 4 minutes left in this first half. Scored 2-0 in favor of Argentina. Those goals resulting, in fact, from fouls on Maradona, and the resulting set plays producing indirectly in the first case and then directly a goal. Close attention by the Korean players again, resulting in yet another free kick for Argentina. Some idea of the lack of urgency in this game when you have 4 Argentinians crowding around the ball from a free kick. No urgency to move up front at all.
I think when you're winning, as Argentina are so comfortably in a game like this, everybody wants the ball all the time. It's a little bit different sometimes when you're losing 2-0 because a lot of people aren't looking for the ball. But right now, Argentina in control of this game very easily.
And Kyung-hoon Park, the victim of that particular foul. Young-tae with the ball. Now Korea trying to move that ball around a little more like a team. There's one of the more colorful goalkeeping jerseys that we've seen in the competition. Owned by Pompidou, who's not had a difficult game at all. Valdano and Chusti, but badly played ball, giving the Koreans a chance for a long ball. To no avail. Argentina now in possession. Maradona this time struck in the face, and I think at last we're going to see a yellow card. Yes, indeed. That's about the 6th foul on Maradona this half. And Young Moo Hoo gets the yellow card.
Maradona beat him well, nutmegged him, and then he just reached his arm out and just gave him a little tap in the face, I think. Maradona is the type of player I don't think you want to rush in on too fast. The man has so much talent that, you know, he can make you look a little foolish, and I think the Korean, just through frustration, reached out to have a smack at him there.
Puccini there wasting that ball completely. There's the last attack, perhaps, or last attempted attack of the South Koreans in this half as the seconds tick away. The referee's already checked his watch once. At any moment now, we're going to hear the whistle for the end of the first 45 minutes. Long, somewhat tentative ball, which Clausen tries to let it run, it won't, so he crosses it and very luckily gets a goal kick from it. We're almost a minute over the 45 minutes which has been allowed, but there's the whistle. The end of half-time with the score Argentina 2, South Korea 0. A rather unenterprising first half. Argentina clearly on top, 2 goals from Valdano. The Labatt TV series returns in a moment.
Take a look at the highlights from Olympico Stadium here in Mexico City as the Argentinians got off to a great start. And Diego Maradona was the key. The left-footed set piece, it's blocked, but he heads the ball into the box, and there's Jorge Valdano who finds the back of the net. And within the first 5 minutes, quickly, it was Argentina out in front of South Korea. Let's take another look at it as Maradona hits the ball to an open Valdano, and he has a chance, and they don't miss too many of those. Valdano from Real Madrid, and he makes no mistake, giving Argentina a 1-0 lead. Here's another look at it from the reverse angle as the Argentinians got off to a great start. And 20 minutes later, from another set piece, again, it's Maradona. This time, he left puts it into the box, and Valdano, once again, will get his head on it, and this time beats the Korean goaltender on the right side And so clearly the Argentinians were the strong team in that first half, and they're well on their way to taking over first place in Group A. They're in the same division as Italy, and of course the Italians squandered a chance for an initial victory as they were tied 1-1 against Bulgaria in their...
I've seen that they have some potential to move forward and release their fast-moving strikers, but it's happened very rarely, and the Argentinian defense in particular have had a very easy time of it. So now they must unite as a team and take some chances, because with a 2-goal lead, Argentina are certainly not going to press. It's very hot in this stadium today, very hot indeed, and therefore Argentina will be very content to play this game as slowly as they possibly can. Unfortunately, Korea will have to try to press forward if they are to make any inroads into this Argentinian lead, and in these very high temperatures, around 30 degrees. And there we are, that is 3-0. This could become a rout. This could become a rout. All too easy, very gentle build-up, and tapping the ball in nonchalantly.
Again, Maradona beats two players, crosses the ball, and there's Valdano to score his third goal.
Well, there's the hat-trick, the first hat-trick of the '86 World Cup. The ball coming off a Korean defender, tipped by the goalkeeper, touched by a defender, but easy taking for Valdano, who undoubtedly is enjoying his first game of the 1986 World Cup. And now there's absolutely no reason for Argentina to do other than take this game very, very easily and use it as a training session, and every reason indeed for South Korea to take some chances and press forward. But they seem to be somewhat overwhelmed by this Argentinian side and haven't settled down into the fast-striking, counter-attacking team that we have been led to believe that they are. Argentina prepared to put that ball out and continue to frustrate these Koreans.
Well, so far from Argentina's point of view, it's been the Maradona-Valdano show, and maybe it's a sign of things to come in more games. Valdano looking very sharp and opportunistic, and of course Maradona setting him up very well.
The goalkeeper may as well take his time and play this ball out to the edge of the area, because he's not going to get too many touches on this ball during this game, certainly the way it's been running so far. Very long ball, almost into the penalty area, and Argentina on the attack again. Here comes the cross, but this time well over the goal line. But Maradona certainly enjoying the relaxation that a 3-goal buffer can bring, and if they give him some time and space, he might well delight us with his artistry. With 3 goals ahead, the Argentinians are likely to find space and thoroughly enjoy this second half, whereas the luckless South Koreans have got to try to avoid this becoming a rout.
I think in both cases for the South Korea, in the start of the game where they gave away a goal so quickly, the worst thing that could have happened was the same thing at the start of the second half, and it has happened. So again, Argentina seeming to have their way.
Lots of space again. Urachaga receives it. Now we're seeing the Argentinians playing this game as they love to play it. Moving to space, taking their time. Lots of time to settle onto this ball. Fighting pressure by the Korean defense. Gaining a free kick, and the referee suddenly changing his tune, beginning to dish out yellow cards somewhat at random. Very hesitant in the first half, but deciding that in their desperation the South Koreans may be resorting to some tackling which doesn't concentrate on possession of the ball. So number 19 receives the wrath of the referee. No, it's a substitute. I think it's a substitute coming on for South Korea. Number 19, Byung-Yu Byun. And they've already brought on one substitute, so that's their ration for this game. And those players that are on the field now have got to face a fairly difficult 40 minutes remaining in this second half. I think they're going to know they've been in a game today. They're certainly going to have been run around this field by this very talented Argentinian side, who don't seem to be threatened at all by what had been promised as a rather enterprising South Korean team. So it's a free kick to Argentina. And it's not so far away, and therefore spells danger. Certainly fooled the defense there. Everybody anticipating a cross, and instead he chipped it to the front-running Argentinian player, and that could have been another goal. We may see some very interesting moves by Argentina, who can certainly rehearse their set plays in this game. Nothing to lose, except, of course, to those other teams who have scouts out watching them.
When you give Argentina this much time to play, and especially with a 3-0 lead, they're going to have fun, and they'll probably do a lot of things they may not do in a game that's 0-0, but I'm sure we're going to see some very attractive football from them.
Cook trying a long through ball, intercepted by the defense. Now we're seeing some precision passing. Maradona once again held back. The referee allowing the advantage and then changed his mind. Very difficult for a referee to win in situations like that, as Show-Min Cook performed yet another rugby tackle on Maradona. Referee half through playing an advantage rule and then changed his mind, so it's a free kick to Argentina. Certainly the Maradona of 1982 would have been engaged in histrionics by this stage on a major scale, and I think the 4 years of football in Europe have certainly helped him to mature and withstand some of the aggravations that a player of his status has to be capable of handling.
I'm sure he's been waiting these 4 years, too, to prove his critics wrong, and because he did not have a good series in '82, but so far he started this one in tremendous form, and I think it augurs well for Argentina that it could be a good series for them.
Another testing time for Yun Kyo-oh, the Korean goalkeeper. The wall forms, wondering how they might be fooled by this particular set play. Maradona, ever the general, captain of Argentina, of course, orchestrating this set play. Two Argentinians just on the edge of the box, several hovering around the ball, one moving out to the right side now. Maradona moving in, decides to bend it, and the goalkeeper punches rather than catching. Seems to prefer punching to catching. Not quite sure why, except, of course, that ball from Maradona was probably spinning viciously.
They can't afford to keep giving away these free kicks to Maradona. It's proved very costly in the first half, and they could do them in again if they're not careful.
Another chance for reversal. The wall being brought back by the referee. Somewhat reluctant as ever to move back the 10 yards. Now they are back. Goalkeeper nervously checking the wall. An Argentinian in the wall being pushed around. That ricochets off a defender, I think, for a corner. Referees have experienced some problems in these early games with getting that wall back 10 yards, and I think later they may be handing out some yellow cards to indicate some urgency that this wall does get back for 10 yards and therefore gives the team which has been awarded the free kick the advantage it deserves, having all the moves and all the advantages of knowing what they're going to do against the defense, which isn't quite sure. But here now a set play in the form of a corner. wide corner. Well handled by the defense, but the Argentinians not deciding to mount a precision attack. And Korea trying to move that ball out. Good ball. Now a foot race. And unfortunately, not enough strength in numbers, almost a mix-up by the Argentinian defense. And Pompidou having as much action there as he's likely to have for the next few minutes, perhaps, but that could have been a costly error. Certainly there we saw an example of the South Korean pace. From Kyun Cha doing a determined and high-speed run down that left side, but coming to no avail when we didn't have enough South Koreans in the area to fasten on the end of that cross. So now Argentina prepared to walk this ball out, and wasting his ball there because Pasculi was well offside. Slow-paced game, but Argentina content, of course, to have this game played at a slow pace, particularly since it's very hot. Speculative shots to no avail. Pompidou is not going to have any challenge to his talent in the Argentinian goal with shots of that caliber.
I think in Korea some of the frustration is starting to set in. You can see it in some of the tackles, and a shot like that from that distance is very optimistic.
The Pompidou of the rather interestingly designed shirt, having a chat to the cameraman while the ball is retrieved. Nobody seems to be in much of a hurry, and the Labatt TV series returns in a moment. Pasculi, as we return to the Olympic Stadium, firing that shot high over the crossbar. Score, Argentina 3, South Korea 0. In very hot conditions. 30 degrees as we see the heavily oppressed Korean goalkeeper, who's had a lot of action today, as opposed to his counterpart Pompidou, who's had very little. But he may get some now if they pass it back and let it roll back, which they do.
I think to protect the Korean goalkeeper, I don't think he had much chance on those 3 goals. They were very difficult for him. So
a long ball in this rarefied atmosphere of Mexico City. Ju Kwang Ray chips it back to the goalkeeper. Now the Koreans moving this ball out, the Argentinians not offering any pressure at this moment, but now the defense is massing in this defensive third. South Korea pushing it back for support and moving to find space. Still continuing to put forward these long balls in the hope that their fleet-footed front runners can latch onto them, but it's a very energy-consuming activity in this sort of heat, and made doubly difficult by the fact that we're well over 7,000 feet, which makes running pretty strenuous task.
the crowd coming a little bit to life here, trying to get a little more action into this game.
Just for a moment, there was a little more space available to the South Koreans, but they were unable to seize on their opportunity, and so we now have a wide ball trying to spread the defense, but the South Korean defenders covering very well and anticipating this time. The referee, Mr. Sanchez of Spain, just having a quick word with the Argentinian defender there. Now a chance, but the left foot shot nowhere close to its target. From Kyun Cha, hitting that one high over the bar. On the few chances that the red-shirted players are going to receive, they cannot afford to be as careless as that.
The Argentine crowd cheering their team right now, and I'm sure very happy with what they see.
Just over an hour gone in this competition. This first game for these two teams. Argentina probably not even daring to hope that their first game could be as pleasant and gentle for them as this, and an opportunity for them to try their goal-scoring skills. 3-0 in the lead, and not having to work very hard for their victory.
One of the big things about getting 3 goals now is if it does come down to a problem in their division and it's tied, of course, the more goals they get, the better chance they have of getting through on goal average. So I'm sure they're going to look to score more goals.
Giusti coming in. Chance for Maradona. But just wanting to take on the entire South Korean defense on his own and eventually losing possession. Batista. Valdano, the scorer of 3 goals, undoubtedly, unless we hear other information from the Irapuato game, the first player in this year's World Cup to score the hat-trick.
And in the running for the Golden Boot Award, of course, for the top goal scorer in the World Cup.
Which may just have crossed his mind. Now the Koreans beginning to link, showing their speed, and not quite getting that cross pulled far enough back for the oncoming support. But undoubtedly their nature is to go forward and to use their pace, and in that first half, suggestions that they were almost overwhelmed by the occasion. And towards the latter end of the first half, almost playing like 11 individuals. When we've seen the brief glimpses of them combining as a team and using their pace, they have looked quite threatening.
The problem they have now, of course, is besides being down 3-0, they've used both their substitutes. So in this terrible heat, as they start to tire, they won't be able to bring on any fresh legs.
And this may release opportunities for Argentina to score some late goals. Ju-Sung Kim getting a quick word of admonishment from the referee, the Spanish referee, Mr. Sanchez. Maradona now being challenged, but holding his man off, shielding that ball very well and trying to beat him yet again and yet again. And very persistent work indeed by Kyung-Hoon Park. Three times Maradona tried to beat him, once to turn him and twice to beat him, but eventually succeeded in getting a free kick.
I think a dangerous thing for Maradona to do, though. If he doesn't want to get himself injured, I think he should just lay the ball off and enjoy the game and start thinking that he's got more games to play here.
Good shot from the edge of the box. Second chance. And a corner to Argentina. Another opportunity for the Argentinian attack to put the South Korean defense under pressure. Goalkeeper Young Kyo-oh will remember this game, I think, for some considerable time. Maradona going to take the corner. Bend this ball in. Argentinians coming in, 5 of them in the area. Oh, and that was another good contact and just wide of the post. Wisty close with that one. Here we see it again.
Christie just heads the ball by. The interesting point here to note in all these things is that Maradona is taking all the free kicks, all the corner kicks, and they're using that left foot of his to a total advantage.
Cooley with a lot of room on the edge of the area, taking his man on, beats him beautifully. Oh, too complacent, losing concentration, and even one of the world's best footballers can muff a chance like that. Lots of time, no pressure.
Absolutely beats, cuts the ball back, an easy shot from Maradona, and there it goes. I think he'd had the goal in his mind before it was in the net.
Almost prepared to celebrate before he struck it, I think. Maradona seems to have recovered from the early close attentions of the Korean defense. He has, as we said, a suspect knee, and one of those early tackles did hit him on the knee, but he seems to have recovered, much to the relief of all the South American supporters of Argentina. Oh, beautiful playing. Now enjoying their indulgence in their skills. Putting on something of an exhibition, but gradually moving that ball forward. Trying with these lateral passes to spread the defense a bit and force the Koreans to run. Here we have the first touch plays and the 1-2 plays, as the Argentinians, with no pressure on them and a 3-goal lead, can afford to indulge and make this a very entertaining first outing for them in 1986. Just the occasional threat from a fast-breaking Korean, and they've gained a free kick from this on the edge of the box, so this could be dangerous and an opportunity for them to win back a goal. Cha Bum-Kum will doubtless have a go at this one. Pompidou may have a little bit of work here, certainly trying to get his wall organized. Seems to be satisfied with it. Let's hope that Mr. Sanchez of Spain is satisfied that this wall will get back the 10 yards. A bit of orchestration by the referee. A large Argentinian wall, 7-man wall in fact, gigantic wall. Pompidou should have very little goal to mind. It's almost like the team photograph that we're seeing here with a 7-man wall, only a few of them missing, of course, 4 men missing only. So it's a massive wall for these South Koreans to swerve this ball around, and it seems to me to be a little closer than 10 yards.
But they have to be careful up here as they don't block the goalie's vision.
The large wall was big enough, and the breaking wall was big enough on the second time, but Korea still in possession. But Pompidou not being tested, and the Argentinian defense now moving forward. And the World Cup 86 on CBC Sports continues in a moment. Back in the Olympic Stadium, still the score 3-0, but during our absence we had perhaps the best chance of all by the South Koreans. Byung-Byung-Ju ran down the right flank and put in a beautiful cross right onto the feet of Choi Soon-ho, who unfortunately shot just over the bar, but definitely the best challenge that the South Koreans have mounted in this game, showing their speed and enterprise, which we've unfortunately seen too little of. Foul there by Kare. It will be a kick to South Korea. Argentinian substitution being prepared, given instructions. Beginning to try to move this ball around and trying to stretch this Argentinian defense laterally, and at least beginning to look as though they are a team. And Pompidou concedes a corner, caught moving backwards. So Pompidou concedes that corner from this cross. Caught him going backwards, and now we go to Chris Cuthbert for an update on the USSR-Hungary game.
Well, Jeff, it is now 4-0 for the Soviet Union. A great goal as Pavel Yakovenko slides the ball through to Igor Yerenchuk, and he has a wide-open net. The Soviets humiliating Hungary 4-0.
Back in the Olympic Stadium. Oh, and much much better combination, and a good attempt there, blocked by the Argentinian defense. But now, losing 3-0, the South Koreans at last beginning to recognize that they have only the slightest hope by playing as a team. And this they are doing, and Pompidou is being given some work at last.
Argentina is starting to look a little shaky here. They've given away a couple of bad passes, which has gotten Korea right back in with a few good chances.
And as so often happens, of course, when the pace is allowed to slacken, it is very difficult to move into a higher gear. And the Koreans looking more threatening now than they have at any other time in the game, and if they don't get in each other's way... Yes, and a long shot caught. Pompidou absolutely fast asleep, well outside the area. We would expect shots to come from well outside the area in this rarefied atmosphere, and here he was caught asleep.
Some tremendous pressure by the Koreans, and it pays off. What a great shot. And again, long shot. Pompidou, it dipped on him, and I'm sure that's part of this rarefied air. But good pressure by Korea, sustained pressure, rewarded by a goal.
Well outside the box. And number 10, Park, bringing Korea to 3-1. And well-deserved, because in that last 5 minutes, having posed an earlier threat from Choi Soon-hoo, they began to play as a team, began to find one another, and in response to that goal, Argentina substitute number 20, Tapia. Carlos Daniel Tapia will come on as substitute for Argentina.
Well, hopefully this will inspire Korea to keep going forward now. They have nothing to lose, and they showed us that they can play. Tremendous shot.
The crowd rising in support of the underdogs, who've shown some spirit now in beginning to combine at long last as a team, and here they go again, threatening forward, nodding back in support, looking to spread this Argentinian defense. And Argentina now being forced to take this game much more seriously. Still a very good blanket, and another Argentinian substitution. This is their second and final one. Number 16, Olaticoechea. Julio Jorge Olaticoechea coming on as the second Argentinian substitute.
Well, that goal, Jeff, has definitely picked this game up. The crowds reacted, and they're starting to support Korea, which is great.
So number 2 comes off, Batista, and we now have both Argentinian substitutes on, Carlos Daniel Tapia and Julio Jorge Olaticoechea. Now Argentina, a little more urgency. Valdano trying for his fourth, but Young-Kyo-Oh able to handle that one. Now the pace of the game suddenly increased. The atmosphere becoming quite electrifying. Korea showing some courage in fighting back when they look to be completely out of this game and to be completely dispirited. But they've begun to play as a team, showing a little pace. And Pompidou coming, bravely catching that ball, almost losing it, and getting more work than he ever thought he was going to get in this game. Ponderous ball downfield, but nodded, back-headed by that Argentinian for a South Korean goal kick. And as the South Korean brings this ball out, over to Chris Cuthbert for an update on the Soviet-Hungary game.
Jeff, the Soviets are really pouring it on. They have scored yet again, and it's a pretty goal as they work the give and go. Evtushenko through to the man who scored the last goal, Yerenchuk. We'll watch it coming up momentarily as it's another pretty Soviet goal. Evtushenko to Yerenchuk, and as he's being tackled, the ball goes off the post and into the net. 5-0 Soviets. Jeff?
So very interesting as we return to the Olympic Stadium. Thank you, Chris, for that update. The Soviet Union's now the leading scoring team in the competition. Argentina second leading with 3 goals, but certainly very few all trying for his 4th goal. But very few would expect the Soviets to be so far ahead of Hungary, though I think there are many who regard the Soviets as a very, very likely team to be there or thereabouts in the final stages of this World Cup. Certainly one would have expected the Soviets to have had a much more difficult match than the Argentinians against the South Koreans. Argentina leading 3 goals to 1, but South Korea in this last 10 minutes or so playing much better than they did in the first half. Certainly finding their men much better, and although this is the wrong direction and they must go forward as they are doing now, certainly showing some spirit and their ability to hit good shots from well outside the box. Another chance. Build-up was good, and that final through pass didn't quite reach its target. But getting more of play, having more possession now, beginning to swing this ball about with an increased amount of confidence, tackling back. And Argentina very happy to clear that ball and now breaking out themselves. Vicious shot, but well blocked.
Of course, one of the big...
And as South Korea substitute number 5, the Labatt TV series returns in a moment.
Et on a vu pendant cette remise en jeu ici une action beaucoup plus sportive que celle qu'on avait vue depuis le début du match, Georges Schwartz, et il vaudra probablement la peine d'en parler en surveillant cette attaque maintenant argentine, mais va chercher la balle.
Très très belle intervention plongée. Alors ce qu'on a pu voir auparavant, la blessure était venue à la suite d'un tir très très puissant de Maradona qui avait été dévié par le joueur argentin et qui a subi donc le choc très très violent avec cette balle.
Than they did in the first half. Seem to have overcome their inferiority complex and are playing with much more confidence than we saw in the first half. Kim Yu-sung fouled there, another free kick in a dangerous position, in a central position, and only about 15 meters outside the box. Certainly playing with much more spirit and much more as a team than we saw in that disastrous first half for them. Argentina being made to work this half.
As he breaks away here, it's a little bit of a nasty tackle. He was away from him and he just clipped his... There was no attempt there to play the ball, and I'm quite surprised that we didn't see a yellow card on that.
The result of that tackle means that he needs attention.
The one good thing here is we're seeing Korea coming forward, starting to believe in themselves. Who knows what can happen? They could score another goal here, but it'll be good for their next game to build their confidence back up as well, one way or another.
And Pompidou just marshalling his defense, because this is a dangerous position for South Korea to take this free kick. And while they organize this free kick, let's go back to Chris Cuthbert for another update. Now we'll wait and take this kick. Here he comes. But South Korea still on the box and offside, but so close. It was a good save on the second attempt by Pompidou, but the Byung-Ju was just offside, only a meter offside.
The good, again, sustained pressure by Korea. There he is, he's offside. But in the same token, a good save by Pompidou.
Much more enterprise by the South Korean side, making this a much more entertaining game than would have been anticipated in the first half, when they were undoubtedly overwhelmed by the opposition, never settled down, and tried to do it on an individual basis. And the crowd whistling in derision when the Argentinians pushed this ball back to their goalkeeper. Aldano getting his head to that, but not doing this with much urgency. And now over to Chris Cuthbert No, we're not going over to Chris Cuthbert for an update. We'll watch a little more of this game. And so South Korea play this ball out and move into the Argentinian half. Long probing ball. The Argentinians clear, but not to anywhere in particular. And South Korea therefore have the possession and waste it.
It's good to see, though, that Korea is still coming forward and trying. They want to try and regain some of that confidence, and they seem to be doing it. Now the game is almost taken on a different picture where you see Argentina clearing the balls out of the back, and it's almost a reverse of what we saw before.
Really bring the game to light and life if they could score another goal. Maradona certainly taking it easy now. Not enjoying the prospects of chasing after the ball. Much happy when the ball is coming to him. And South Korea mount another attack, moving forward. And tackled unfairly by Gare. Therefore, another kick to South Korea. For 19, Byung-Ju really started off this revival by South Korea. That's a nice ball, nodded in. Can anybody settle onto that and get a shot in? Oh, good covering by Pompidou, but still Korea attacking and showing now the pace that we'd all been waiting for, and is now coming to life quite late in the half. The linesman made the decision there, and the Argentine defender will get this throw, but 5 minutes left, and one is left with the speculation of what might have happened had this South Korean team settled earlier and shown some of the teamwork that they've given us in this last 20 minutes. They've really made Argentina work, but with a 3-goal lead and a very, very easy first half, they gave themselves far too much to do. But I don't think we've seen the last of this team, and I think they will entertain us in their future games now that they've had their first taste of playing in this year's World Cup final. Maradona closely attended and collects the free kick there. And now we go over to Chris Cuthbert for an update.
Well, Jeff, the rout continues. This is Aleinnikov for the Soviet Union. He stopped, but Rodnov continues through, and yes, the Soviets have scored again. It's 6-0 late in the second half.
And so we are back with a 3-1 game in Mexico City's Olympic Stadium. Korea having made a surprising and very satisfying comeback in the second half to score a goal. 3 goals by Argentina in the first half. They haven't scored in this half, and Korea have showed us something of the teamwork and the speed that they brought with them in terms of a reputation to these World Cup finals. But they've left it far too late as we move into the last 5 minutes of this game. But undoubtedly their analysis of their second half performance will give them some cause for optimism, whereas their first half could only leave them despondent. Now Argentina moving this ball about as the Korean defense come out to try to stifle their opportunities and to reduce their space. Playing the ball around somewhat speculatively and laterally, rather than moving this forward where they can get a chance for a strike on goal, but quite content to waste time and simply in to pass the ball. But almost a retrieval of that possession by the South Korean team, but Argentina quite content to push this ball in any direction because they don't need to score goals at this stage with a 2-goal lead. Maradona might try for a quick left footer here, but very closely attended. Doesn't get his cross in, but does gain a corner. Park Kyung-hoon in close attention and marking him well. But it is a corner to Argentina.
Argentina's showing us what they can do when they're left alone to push the ball around, and right now the Koreans, of course, must be feeling this heat. And when you don't have that ball, it becomes a very difficult thing to try and get back when the Argentines are playing like this and stroking the ball about.
Argentina in no hurry at all to take this corner. Mr. Sanchez helping them out by being the provider of the ball. And a different corner taker this time, Tapia, who came on as a substitute. Well headed out by the South Korean defense. Tapia again. Moving it in. Christie trying a long shot, but the goalkeeper well forward of his 6-yard area and took that very safely. Good coverage by his body, wrapped those arms around the ball. Now South Korea don't seem to be in a hurry, but they're giving their goalkeeper a chance to send this ball well upfield by kicking from the hands. And it is a long ball just outside the area, but not enough Koreans up front to take it. And it rolls harmlessly out for a goal kick. So Pumpido, who we thought would have little or no work in this half, certainly has been put under pressure and has conceded one goal to take this kick with only something in the order of a couple of minutes remaining. South Korea having clearly lost this game by an inept performance in the first 20 minutes, but have made amends in terms of their psychological confidence in the last 20-25 minutes of the second half by playing with much more confidence, finding their men, moving forward with a little more incisiveness, and maybe having a shot. No, decides against it. The man's offside, waited too long, and he wandered 2 or 3 meters offside. But much more reason for them to go back into the dressing room despite a 3-1 loss, feeling a little better about the fact that they can play when they settle down and don't allow themselves to be overawed by the opposition.
Well, it'll give them some confidence to go into the next game with, and they've really come back. They lost it in that first 20 minutes when they were tried to play just too defensive, which is not their style of play, and it backfired on them. Very unfortunate.
Controlled, looking for help, man moving well on the left. Good interception and anticipation, but the flag was up because the South Korean attacker was just a meter offside. 90 minutes has gone, so it will be up to Mr. Sanchez now to decide how much extra time has been added on for injury. The Argentinians well satisfied with a relatively easy first game despite the heat. Good practice of some of their set plays, an opportunity for their strikers to get on the end of balls to score goals. Pitch resembling something of a battlefield at the moment, with both the Argentinian and the South Korean injured in that tackle. Valdano, the goal scorer, seems to have an ankle problem. And it's Young Hwan for South Korea who's in trouble. So far, the trainers are being kept off the pitch. They cannot come on until the referee calls them on. There's Valdano up on his feet again, the goal scorer for Argentina. Ah, yes. The wounded are mobile again. A few seconds left before the final whistle goes. It's a kick to Argentina. Chance for them to add to their score. But they elect instead to play the ball in a series of short passes. But that's it. The game is over. The first game for Argentina. And a successful start. Argentina 3, South Korea 1, but South Korea scoring their first goal in World Cup finals football and playing in the second half with the sort of confidence and pace that we had been led to believe. And the Labatt TV series returns in a moment.